had the last brilliant event, the lunch at Ronnie Scott's. I have to send my apologies because I had to go to a funeral, and I did make a video, so I'll try not to repeat what I said in the video. But I was at a funeral, and that was actually the day before the general election was called. And after the funeral, I was telling my friends up in Chester how we were just about to relax the restrictions on annual leave, and it looked pretty unlikely that it was going to go in the spring now, and May the 2nd wasn't going to happen. And what did I know? The next day we were on, and it does seem like a rather long time since we saw Rishi standing in the rain. It feels like a moment in history, actually, because so much has happened since then. But I cannot tell you how proud I am to be General Secretary of such a brilliant staff team who they called the election and it took them by surprise. We were ready and we were out of the traps. And we kept looking for the moment when they were going to unleash the killer blow on us, and it never came. Political events, when you look back on them, can sometimes feel ordained and destined to be, but they never are. They're human-made. And all our staff, our candidates, our MPs who I see here tonight, our volunteers across the country made that victory. It was not ordained, it was not inevitable. Nobody likes a long speech from a General Secretary, so I'm not going to speak for very long, but I would just like to recollect that I can remember vividly May the 2nd, 1997, the day after our 97 landslide victory. And earlier in this year, in January, we had an all-staff event, and I wanted to tell the staff about how I felt on May the 2nd, 1997. I don't know how you felt if you were around then, or how you felt on July the 5th, but I can remember it quite vividly. I was standing in the Northwest Regional Office. I was Regional Director of the Northwest on my own. Ian McCartney, who'd been by my side every day for 6 months, he was my political lead as Regional Director, and he wasn't there. And the reason he wasn't there is because he got a ministerial job and he was down in London. That was the whole point. And I found myself feeling sad and low. And I was fighting myself. I was stupid. I've spent most of my adult life fighting for this Labour landslide victory. We've just achieved that. And I don't feel unmitigated elation. There was a mixture of feelings, and one of them was sadness. And I told that story to the staff in January. And so many of them have said to me, I'm glad you told me because it prepared me for how I felt. And of course, the reason for it is politics is the art of war by non-military means. And we're in the trenches together. We're fighting the enemy. We never feel more alive. We have common purpose. We're going for it until 10 o'clock on the 4th of July. We had one task, one job, and then the guns fell silent. And the next day, our brilliant staff were feeling, what's the point of me now? It's gone. And there's a sense of grief and loss of the campaign. I don't know if any of you have felt that, amongst the feeling of complete elation because of another brilliant landslide victory that was made through the efforts of all of us. But let me tell you that we are getting over that quickly. We are rolling up our sleeves. We have to make the change that we promised happen. I'd like to tell you about just one story of a woman that I met on a doorstep in Hexham. Samantha was her name. I knocked on her door and I went through the script dutifully, as you would expect, and she wasn't going to vote. And I asked her why, what were the issues that were on her mind, and she said, well, I live in a council on a council estate. I'm a single mother and I have an autistic daughter who I'm homeschooling because there are no places in any schools around here. She was overcome. She was being swamped by the pressure upon her. Now, I was able to introduce her to our candidate, and I think by the time he left her on that doorstep, she was going to vote Labour, but it was a tough call And that made me understand just how people weren't necessarily flocking to us without us putting the energy and the effort in and making the case that we made so well. And that just redoubled my efforts. It's for Samantha that this change must come, because she was like so many others in so many constituencies who were being overwhelmed by the chaos of the incompetent government that we defeated. So, our staff, and if any of you are in the room and you're in the room for hiring, they are brilliant. We have to reduce, I'm afraid, our compliment, but they're amongst the most employable people in the country. They've walked through walls to get this, and I would commend all of them to you. But our job now is to pick up once again, to get around particularly the new MPs. It's all about incumbency now. We have to build a shield around every single MP that won, so we go again for a second term. We have to provide an umbilical cord between the party in government and the party in the country. We let it wither at our peril, because we must remain connected to the voters who put us in, and indeed the voters who didn't vote for us but are open to us. That's got to be our mission, to deepen that broad victory that we made. So I've started up the countdown clock in head office again. It ran down to 0. It now stands at 1,807 days, 11 hours and 30 minutes until we go again. Thank you all very much, and thank you so much to SME4Labour's.